The evening air is crisp as I walk through the front door, the familiar scent of jasmine greeting me. It's a typical Thursday, except Aida has prepared dinner, which is unusual given her recent pattern of late nights and missed meals together. As I hang my coat, she calls from the kitchen, her voice laced with an unfamiliar excitement. "Honey, can you come here for a second?" I find her setting the table, her eyes sparkling with what I assume is joy. She turns to me, a smile playing on her lips, and holds out a small, digital pregnancy test. Positive. "We're going to have a baby," she beams. For a moment, the world stands still. Joy floods through me, a pure, unadulterated happiness. We had talked about children, but not now, not yet. However, this surprise shifts everything, or so I think. I pull her into a hug, feeling her heartbeat against mine. But as the evening wears on, something niggles at the back of my mind. Aida is too jittery, too talkative, her laughter a pitch too high. It's as if she's performing the role of a happy expectant mother, not actually living it. Days turn into weeks, and her behavior grows more erratic. She guards her phone like a secret, and her late nights become more frequent. The doubts I've been trying to ignore claw their way to the forefront of my thoughts. One night, driven by a mixture of suspicion and desperation, I decide to follow her. She said she was going to a prenatal yoga class, but instead, she drives to a quaint, isolated house on the outskirts of town. My heart sinks as I watch her disappear inside. Hours pass, hours that stretch my patience and gnaw at my sanity. When I can stand it no longer, I approach the house, my mind racing with every step. The front door is unlocked, a silent invitation to confirm my worst fears. I find them upstairs. The scene before me is a brutal confirmation of my suspicions. There, in what I presume is their bedroom, Aida and a man, muscular, tattooed, unfamiliar, are tangled in the sheets. His hand on her belly sends a jolt of betrayal straight through me. The shock is palpable, freezing me in place for a heartbeat. Then the fury builds, a tidal wave of hurt and anger washing over me. Aida spots me, and her face crumbles from bliss to horror. "James, she starts, scrambling from the bed. "Save it," I cut her off, my voice cold and distant. The man looks between us, confusion etched across his face. "Who are you?" he demands, his tone defensive, protective even. "He's my husband," Aida answers before I can speak, her voice a whisper. The man's eyes widen in shock, and an uncomfortable silence stretches between us. I can see the pieces clicking into place for him, the realization that he was part of something much larger and messier than a simple affair. I leave without another word, the image of them together seared into my memory, fueling the fire of my vengeance. Over the following weeks, I channel my pain into action. With meticulous planning, I strip away the layers of Aida's lies and deceit. I expose her infidelity to our friends, our families, and in our community. Her reputation crumbles, her job becomes a hostile environment, and her lover abandons her, unwilling to deal with the fallout. By the time our divorce papers are signed, Aida is a shadow of the woman I married, broken by the consequences of her choices. As for me, I walk away from the wreckage, vowing never to look back. The aftermath of the discovery leaves the air thick with tension and unsaid words. The next few weeks are a blur of cold exchanges and silent meals, with Aida attempting to reach out, her apologies a constant echo in the otherwise silent house. But the seed of betrayal has rooted too deeply, and my mind is set on a path from which there is no return. One chilly evening, as Aida returns from another secretive outing, she finds the locks changed at our once shared home. Her frantic calls pierce the quiet of the night, but I remain unmoved behind the new security. "James! Please, we need to talk. You can't just lock me out," her voice breaks with desperation. From the other side of the door, my voice is calm, detached. "I'm not discussing anything through a door, Aida. Your belongings are at your sister's place. Go there." "But this is my home too," she protests, her voice muffled through the wood. "Not anymore. It's over, Aida." "You made sure of that," I reply, the finality in my voice echoing in the empty hallway. The following day, I take further steps. I visit the bank and secure my assets, ensuring she cannot drain our joint accounts. At my lawyer's office, papers are drawn up, the terms harsh but fair given the circumstances. My lawyer, a seasoned man with a sharp eye, nods in understanding, his pen scratching the paper as he outlines the divorce. "You're doing the right thing, protecting yourself," he advises, handing me the documents. "She won't see it coming, not this fast." Armed with legal protections, I move on to my next plan. A meeting is arranged with her lover, the supposed father of her child. At a quiet, unassuming cafe, I lay out the evidence of their affair, photos, and texts that leave no room for denial. "Stay away from Aida and the child," I state, my tone devoid of emotion, my demand non-negotiable. He's younger, less weathered by life's betrayals, and his eyes widen with fear. "Look, man, I didn't know she was still with someone. She told me you were separating." "That was a lie," I cut him off. "Just like everything else she told you." With my personal life settling into a cold, calculated routine of retribution, I focus on exposing Aida's deceit further. Anonymous tips lead her workplace into a quiet investigation of her conduct, and her professional reputation begins to unravel as whispers of her personal life bleed into her professional relationships. Meanwhile, the city buzzes around me, indifferent to the personal storm I weather. Yet, I feel a strange sense of clarity as I walk through the busy streets, the city lights casting long shadows. Each step is lighter, freed from the weight of lies and deceit. As I sit in the park, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of fire and gold, my phone buzzes. It's a message from a mutual friend, a link to a social media post. There, painted in the harsh light of public scrutiny, is Aida, her secrets laid bare for all to see. As the repercussions of Aida's downfall ripple outward, I immerse myself deeper into my strategy of retribution. The stark winter air bites at my skin as I stride towards the small, nondescript building that houses the detective agency I hired weeks ago. The door creaks softly as I push it open, and I'm greeted by the somber nod of the investigator, a man whose career thrives on unearthing secrets. "We've gathered more than just evidence of her affair," he begins, sliding a folder across the desk. His office, dimly lit, smells of old books and stale coffee. "It appears Aida's deceit was more extensive than you suspected." I thumb through the documents, my eyes scanning the detailed reports. Credit card statements, secretive transactions, and more names, men unknown to me but linked to Aida by a web of lies. She used these accounts to fund her escapades, and possibly more, the investigator adds, his voice a low rumble of distaste. I clench the papers, feeling a surge of anger. "And the men?" "They were, let's say, frequent companions while you were away on business." I nod, the information slotting into the grim puzzle of Aida's treachery. My next steps are clear. I rise, my thanks curt, and as I leave, the weight of the folder in my hand feels like carrying a weapon. The city sprawls before me, indifferent and vast, as I make my way to my next confrontation. Armed with new evidence, I confront each man, their expression shifting from defiance to dismay as they realize the extent of their entanglement. None had known of the others, each deceived as much as I was, mere pawns in Aida's selfish game. "Stay out of our lives, or the next conversation will be with the police," I warn, the threat hanging heavy between us in the chill of a park bench meeting. One by one, they agree, fear shadowing their features. The park's usual tranquility does little to soften the harshness of our exchanges, and by the time I leave, the last traces of daylight have faded. The final piece of my plan involves the most public exposure yet. I arrange for an article in a popular local online magazine, detailing Aida's manipulations without revealing my identity. The piece goes live within hours, and the digital world erupts in shock and censure. At home, I watch as the story spreads, my computer screen a portal to the chaos I've orchestrated. Comments pile up, each one a nail in the coffin of Aida's social standing. But amidst the satisfaction, a sliver of doubt wedges itself within me, a whisper of whether this vendetta has taken on a life of its own, spiraling beyond my initial anguish. That night, the air in my home feels different, thicker, charged with the echo of my actions. The phone rings, its shrill tone slicing through the silence. It's Aida, her voice a mixture of fury and despair. "How could you do this to me, James?" "To us," she cries, the sound ragged and pained. "To us?" I echo, my voice icy. "There is no us after what you did. You made those choices, Aida, not me. You destroyed everything." Her accusation stings, even if I believe it justified. I have nothing left. "That was your doing," I reply, the finality in my tone brooking no argument. "Goodbye, Aida." I hang up, the click of the phone like the closing of a chapter. As I sit in the dark, the glow from the streetlights casting shadows across the room, I realize the depth of my actions. Retribution has been achieved, but at what cost? The cold morning air feels sharper today, or perhaps it's just the edge of my resolve as I prepare for the final act of my plan. My reflection in the mirror shows a man changed, hardened by deceit and driven by a relentless desire for retribution. Today, that desire will reach its crescendo. The phone buzzes, a text message from Aida, yet another plea for reconciliation, or perhaps a confrontation. It matters little. I'm past the point of no return. I type a response, arranging to meet her at the once-cherished cafe where we celebrated our anniversaries. The place where love bloomed will witness its ultimate demise. As I enter the cafe, the familiar chime of the bell feels like a countdown. Aida sits at our usual table, her eyes red, a mix of hope and fear playing across her features as she spots me. The public setting is intentional, a stage for the final act. "James, thank you for coming," she starts, her voice trembling. I've been thinking, maybe there's still a way." "There's no way back, Aida," I interrupt sharply, my tone leaving no room for ambiguity. "I didn't come here to reconcile." Her face falls, confusion and hurt flashing momentarily before settling into a resigned sadness. "Then why are we here?" "To end this," I say, sliding an envelope across the table. It contains the last of the photos, evidence of her latest betrayal, not just with one, but multiple deceptions. Her expression crumbles as she flips through them. "Where did you get these?" she whispers, her voice hollow. "I've had you watched since the day I left our house," I reveal, the satisfaction of seeing her caught once again evident in my cold smile. "I wanted to see if you'd change." "You didn't." Aida looks up, her eyes searching mine for any sign of the man she married. "James, I made mistakes, but this cruelty, it's not you." "It is now," I reply, standing up. "You made this." Her pleadings follow me as I walk away, her cries a faint echo behind the bustling cafe noise. My steps are heavy, but decisive, the chapter closing with each stride. The next days are a blur of activity. Utilizing my connections, I ensure that every aspect of Aida's life feels the impact of her choices. Her job is lost after the leaked information reaches her employer, her friends distance themselves, and her financial stability crumbles as the banks call in her debts, a life systematically dismantled. But the pinnacle of my vengeance comes when I anonymously tip off the lover's wife. The resulting scandal is explosive, the damage irreparable. Aida is left completely alone, a social pariah living in the ruins of the world she once ruled. One evening, as the sun sets, casting long shadows over the city I once loved, I find myself at a bridge overlooking the river. The water reflects the fiery sky, a mirror to the burning fury that has driven me. I had imagined satisfaction, a sense of justice in these moments, but as I watch the water flow relentlessly onward, I feel nothing but a hollow victory. The ring of my phone breaks the silence, a number I don't recognize. It's Aida's sister, her voice urgent. "It's Aida, she took your revenge to heart. She couldn't live with what she became, what you turned her into," she sobs over the line. "She's gone, James. She jumped into the river an hour ago. They haven't found her yet." The phone slips through my fingers, clattering against the metal of the bridge. The echo of the impact mirrors the sudden, sharp break in my chest. This wasn't supposed to be the outcome. Retribution, yes. Erasure, no. The final chapter closes on a man standing alone in the twilight, staring at the dark waters that have claimed the life his vengeance had overrun. The price of retribution is laid bare, a tragic end to a tale woven with betrayal and revenge. In seeking justice for his broken heart, he had lost himself, and now he stands as the sole architect of his misery, his actions irreversible, his losses immeasurable. The water whispers below, a cruel reminder that some deceptions cut too deep, and some revenges, once exacted, haunt forever.